This video is a sign that you're done with the victim mentality. You're done putting it off and you're ready to embrace your highest calling. The business, the art, the adventure that your soul beckons you to is alive and will live through you as you embrace it deeper. All of life is energy. Embracing the energy and the fun of life is extremely important and is going to connect all of the dots with these pursuits that call to you. You were meant to make incredible things for other people to enjoy, and that calling is not going to go away. It's only going to scream at you louder and louder. Part of this is tied into identity. So your identity starts to get tied into the job that you've been stuck at, or maybe the area you grew up in, or the school that you went to, or the people you associated with, or the story that you tell yourself about who you are. That identity can shift into the higher version of yourself. So you don't have to stay stuck with parts of your identity that don't serve you. It's easy to fall into the trap of carrying the past with you and carrying the stories of the past and carrying the identity of the past into the future as I have to be this person for XYZ reason. And when you emotionally unpack all of that, you realize you don't need to keep all of that going, and the person that you're serving with that narrative is yourself. The invisible judge and the invisible people who are judging you don't exist, and they're created by your mind as this internal fear metric to keep you in line in this lower state. So let that go. Moving into your higher self is can be a painful process depending on how much trauma you've got or how big the mission is you're undertaking, but it's a worthwhile journey because the alternative is staying stuck at stuff that you don't even like doing anyway for people that you don't even really want to please anyway. I was just thinking in the car today about how there was parts of myself that I felt that I couldn't be because of the judgment of other people. And this is a deep thing that a lot of people, most people have. And I realized that the people that I would be making myself smaller for wouldn't even appreciate the new version of myself that I created for them either. And so that's such a funny realization, because that fear that's trying to attack you by saying you need to craft yourself into a way that's acceptable to this imaginary person in your head, that imaginary person, whether they end up being a real person in your life or not, wouldn't even appreciate the new version of yourself that you're creating for them either. So at the very root of that whole thing is a fear of acceptance, understanding, being seen for who you are, and of judgment, and accepting that not everyone's going to vibe with you and not everyone's going to understand you is so freeing. And to put yourself into a box for other people doesn't serve you or them, And you are inevitably going to have people who disagree with you, who don't view the world the same way that you do, who are going to judge you regardless of what you do. So that's the deepest root of it all, is a fear of acceptance, judgment, etc. So once you can work through that and accept yourself, that's how you ascend in terms of your conscious experience and what you bring to the table and what you put out into the world. Working through those things personally has served me greatly, and I'm not above it. No one's above it. I think there's a degree of that everyone has to go through of, I'm not going to vibe with everybody. I'm not going to be accepted by everybody, but I'm going to be who I am. And on your mission of being your highest self, which is the most noble of mission, you need to be okay with not everyone getting it. Not everyone's going to get it. Some people are going to doubt. Some people are going to judge. So be it. Because guess what? That's actually going to happen in the lower frequency too. So this version of yourself that you create that's for them, that placates to their narrative, doesn't work either. They're going to judge you anyway. So at the root of that is accepting that judgment and accepting that not everyone's going to like you. Letting go of these deep-rooted emotional fears and traumas is likely, in my estimation, the biggest hurdle in business and art and everything you want to accomplish. And I can feel that in my life in terms of working through some emotional shit unlocks your highest self. Letting go of fears that don't serve you, working through emotional stuff that you have to work through is super important. And the right people will find you on your mission once you really truly undertake it. And having that belief reinforces it. So the other thing about identity and fear and belief is that you are the co-creator of your reality, and that belief of positive reinforcement that the right people will find you, and that you are on your highest mission and you're doing it to the best of your ability and honestly, that is so powerful. And people will be able to feel that from you. And you might actually end up convincing some of the people who might not have been believers or who were doubters in the beginning. Reframing that old identity is extremely important, and you get to shed the stuff that you feel like you've been carrying around like a sandbag, and it makes everything so much lighter, and you will be amazed at yourself at how much work you're getting done on your project, your love that you've been wanting to for so long, when you let go of those old pieces of baggage. And now when I talk about identity, it doesn't mean that you're getting rid of your entire ego. It doesn't mean that your past struggles didn't mean anything. They give you context and they give you texture as a human being, but you don't need to carry them into every moment as a defining characteristic or feature of yourself. They were temporal experiences that can help forge your spirit, but they don't need to be a constant self-affirmation of weakness or less than or trauma that you carry around all the time. It doesn't have to be that way. Your new identity can be someone who wins, someone who effortlessly gets stuff done and is on their highest mission. When you orient your identity to that, all of a sudden pieces fall in line so easily. This identity piece was huge for me in my growth as a human being, because in the past, I identified with struggles and I identified with being stuck as an artist. And when that's part of your identity, you actually protect it. So it means that you actually keep it stagnant and held into your experience. Letting go of that lets it out in terms of when you have part of the negativity as part of your identity, you carry that with you everywhere. So if you identify as a stuck artist, you're going to be stuck because that's part of your identity. And our brains are very good at holding on to identity and reinforcing identity. And so then you'll look for proof of the negative affirmations that you're making in your life. So when you do this identity shift, it actually forces your system to look for those positive reaffirmations, and that's a self-fulfilling loop in the positive direction. So make that part of your directive is shifting some of these identity pieces, and that can be a process and it can also be simple. So you can tell yourself that it's simple, and it will be. You can tell yourself it's going to be difficult, and it will be. That's how much creative power you have over your identity and over your life, is telling yourself how easy or difficult something's going to be. Easy doesn't mean that there's no challenges. It just means that you flow through the process pretty simply. So when I'm talking about difficult, I'm talking about, oh, this is going to take years, and oh, it's someone else who's more talented could do this, but I couldn't. Those are all creations of yourself. You're creating that belief. So go in there and be positive with yourself, and you'll be amazed, saying, I've got the wherewithal to do this. So after realizing identity is the core of the whole thing, the next piece you can take with you is that energy is just as important. So after this identity shift of being someone who is on their mission, is successful, so after you make this identity shift, the next piece is energy. So adopting an energy of flow, of fun, and of excitement is extremely important in your endeavors. So that energy is more than just your identity. So that's why it's kind of a multi-layered thing here. But essentially, when you adopt the energy of this is flowing, this is fun, and I'm excited about it, and genuinely feeling that, it just flows naturally, and the universe responds to that. And finding those things that give you that energy and give you a recurring loop is extremely important. Because if you're working on something that is dragging you down, that's not going to be sustainable. That's different than something that does take a long time, that is a grind, but you're enjoying it. So it's not to say that you can't do difficult things or challenging things, because there are going to be moments of boredom or moments of grind in those pursuits, but you're actually willing to bear that with the underlying excitement for the end product or the process or the combination thereof. So at the end of the day, truly it is about that underlying energy of excitement, fun, giving back to the universe versus feeling hunched over like this is something I have to do, but I don't really want to. That energy doesn't work. And you have already probably received proof in your life of both versions of that. Of you've received proof of the negative not working, and you've probably received proof of the positive working, and somehow everything was just firing on all cylinders effortlessly. You can turn that on. You are the one who gets to turn that on for yourself. We'll dive into this more. Let me know if you enjoyed the topic.